Ĉu vi parolas Esperanto?
Esperanto? Hell no! Why would I speak Esperanto, man?
Preparing his speech for an international conference in Geneva in 1906, Zamenhof described the events in his hometown of Białystok. Savages with axes and iron stakes have flung themselves, like the fiercest beasts, against the quiet villagers. They smashed the skulls and poked out the eyes of men and women, of broken men and helpless infants. At the next conference after that in Cambridge in 1907, he said flatly that Esperanto would become a school for future brotherly humanity. So there's always been a political project behind Esperanto, but it is hard to say if modern Esperantists really adhere to these original principles, as they tend to be split into subgroups based on their own preferences. So you're probably asking yourself, if you're unfamiliar with Esperanto, well, what is Esperanto? Esperanto is the most successful and widely spoken conlang or constructed language in the world, and it all started here in this city, which lies in modern-day Poland, which is Białystok. The creator of Esperanto, Ludwik Zamenhof, was born here when it was part of the Russian Empire, and at that time in his childhood, the city was multilingual and multi-ethnic, so there was a lot of Yiddish spoken by Jews, predominantly of course, German, Russian, Polish, Belarusian, and many other languages here amongst the different groups in the city. And Zamenhof, this left a big impression on Zamenhof, and he believed that the animosity between the different groups was caused by the fact that they spoke different language, at least in large part. And he was set about in 1873 creating a new language called Esperanto that he believed would become a universal language not just here in Białystok, but actually across the globe. And Zamenhof himself was actually a polyglot. He spoke lots and lots of different languages, not just Yiddish, German, Russian, Polish, but also Romance languages like French, Latin. So he had a wide array of languages. He also came into contact with Lithuanian apparently. So he had this kind of mix, and that actually left a big impression on Esperanto itself and the way that it was designed, because he used a lot of the influence of the languages around him in Europe to create the language, which goes to a point of whether Esperanto at the end of the day is actually really a neutral language, because it is predominantly Indo-European. So of course, reducing interethnic or intergroup violence and conflict sounds fantastic, doesn't it? But unfortunately, the statistical evidence just doesn't add up that having a common language is actually a good indicator in terms of, and predictor in terms of reducing intergroup or interethnic violence. You just have to look at other bloody conflicts in Europe where people actually had a common language. For example, the former Yugoslavia in the 90s, or Northern Ireland, of course, over 30 years. And unfortunately, that just doesn't hold up when we look at the numbers. So one of the main reasons for creating Esperanto as a common language and as a conlang, constructed language, to reduce interethnic conflict here in Białystok, that was Zamenhof's idea. It's just a myth. It doesn't work in reality, unfortunately.
So another city that L.L. Zamenhof lived in was Grodno, which lies today in modern Belarus. One of the things that of course motivates me to learn languages is if you actually know lots of people, especially if you actually have a romantic partner. Either you're married to someone, you have a long-term partner, or just you have a girlfriend from a country where the language is spoken that you're trying to learn, or that you actually get motivated to learn the language because you met someone who speaks it and you want to get to know their culture better, which is obviously important if you're having a long-term relationship with someone. I definitely advise that. Now, Esperanto. I have actually never dated anyone who speaks Esperanto, which for normal people would be like, duh, there aren't that many people who speak Esperanto, but actually at the language conferences that I go to, there are quite a large number of Esperantists at times. But nothing romantic has ever happened personally to me. Esperantos ladies, let me know, write me if you want to convince me to learn Esperanto. So Zamenhof himself had a vision of Esperanto to become kind of like a universal global lingua franca, and that simply has just, first of all, not happened. the number of people speaking Esperanto or any conlang, even if it's the most widely spoken one, are just a fraction of the world's population. And there are several other regional lingua francas, like in Latin America, Spanish is effectively a lingua franca, or French in a lot of Africa, and Russian in this region. As everyone knows, the global language today is English. So English is achieved without the need to actually create the language just for that purpose. In effect, it is becoming a global lingua franca. One could say it already is. I had a video that I made with Steve Kaufman, who is known as Lingo Steve on YouTube, a huge doyan in the field of language learning. Love Steve's content over the last decade here on YouTube. And we made a video about how language is the fourth dimension of travel, because it really adds something in terms of communicating with people and having access to the culture and just giving it more of a pleasurable experience when you're traveling. At least for us, that's our take on it. And that's something that you just can't get with Esperanto, because it's not like for example, you learn Spanish maybe because you want to go to Cuba, you know, dance salsa, eat Cuban food, and that's going to be an integral part of going there. Is also maybe even going to take a Spanish course in Havana, in Cuba, in order to do that. But you're just not going to do that with Esperanto. Now, I know they organize, of course, Esperanto events, and you can go there, but that's not the same thing in terms of travel. So, if you enjoyed this video, big thumbs up. If you didn't enjoy it, probably you're giving it a thumbs down, but that's fine. Make sure that you comment in any case whether you speak Esperanto, plan to learn it, love the concept, love the idea, love the values of Esperanto, or you think it's a complete waste of time, it's utter folly, and we should just abandon the whole idea of a language like Esperanto. Let me know all that good stuff below in the comment section below the video. And normally I sign off my videos with normally the language I'm talking about, but since Esperanto is our language I'm planning to learn, and I think it would be inappropriate for me to sign off in Esperanto. Also, it doesn't have a homeland, and I'm here in Grodno in Belarus. So I'm going to sign off in one of the two official languages of Belarus, which of course is Russian, and that is До свидания. And I will see you guys in the next video. If you're not a subscriber, there's that little red button. Just gotta press it and make sure that you whack that notification bell, and you will receive my notifications when I upload a new video. So I will see you guys in the next video.